Good day. This is my weekly reflection for March 31 to April 7. Truthfully, I think this might be the only week where I completed just a few separate tasks for a project, mostly because it was Holy Week and my personal schedule outside of college was incredibly busy with other commitments. However, even though I only produced a handful of things over the last few days, I made an effort to ensure that every single piece of work was thoroughly detailed, complete, and correct. My primary focus for this week was pushing forward with my script, and I made the creative choice to, set the opening scene inside my own house to visually establish the story of a lonely, fatherless son living in a big, empty space. Now, to ensure that the emotional weight of this setup felt right, I spent time watching and analyzing several highly relevant drama films, specifically Pixar's Up, Film Seven Sundays, and Lola and Kid. Now, I chose these specific films because they all masterfully handle the exact themes of grief, generational gaps, and finding hope through unconventional family bonds. In the movie Up, the message centers on how an unexpected relationship between a lonely young boy and an isolated old man can heal past emotional trauma, which directly mirrors the core narrative of my own film. Now, Seven Sundays and Lola and Kid both emphasize that family and emotional support aren't always about perfect biological structures, but about who shows up for you when you feel completely abandoned. My film shares this exact message that hope is a moving target, and a total stranger can become the father figure a struggling student needs. Watching these films helped me carefully write my own dialogue bit by bit, trying to match that natural, heartfelt rhythm. But I hit a massive roadblock because I found it incredibly hard to actually visualize the specific camera shots and angles needed for each scenes while writing, and my specific struggle was trying to balance the dramatic pacing with the camera placement. Now, I didn't know how to use the camera to show, the growing emotional intimacy between the boy and the old man without making the scenes feel stagnant or boring. And so I got stuck trying to figure out how to transition from like wide shots that emphasize the boy's loneliness inside the big house to a meaningful close-up that highlights the growing connection between the old man and the boy in the garden. Now, to overcome that, of course, I went back onto YouTube to watch technical tutorials breaking down how professional directors use specific framing, like over the shoulder shots, and subtle tracking movements to build subtext and emotion in drama films. Then I took these visual lessons, of course, directly into my next major task, which was carefully sketching out my storyboard, even though I'm not a great artist. Now, being in the actual space made it so much better and easier to map out the actor movements and see how a low angle shot could make the old man look like a protective figure, father. The real challenge arose when I had to conduct an informal site risk assessment using an unofficial hazard checklist provided by my teacher before we left college for the week. Walking around the cathedral grounds, I had to critically analyze what potential hazards could disrupt our filming. You know, identified uh, specific risks like uneven stone pathways that I could report, that could cause one of my actors to trip with heavy gear, and unpredictable public foot traffic that might block our frame when we film, and changing natural lighting under the garden trees that could ruin our visual continuity. But to make matters worse, I initially struggled to think of realistic ways to minimize these risks, which made my life feel, you know, incomplete. But I overcame this by writing down clear, actionable control measures such as planning a secondary path for equipment transport and scheduling our shoot during the quietest morning or afternoon hours. So, this entire process taught me a massive lesson about how technical preparation directly protects artistic creativity. Now, learning how to translate script lines to technical storyboard frames and identifying safety hazards ahead of time means I'll save hours of panic on the actual shoot days. So ultimately, the work that I did during the busy week will heavily impact my final project because it forces me to step onto the set with a clear, safe, and of course highly organized visual plan, ensuring that my directing will be sharp, my directing will be decisive, and completely focused on getting the best emotional performances out of my actors rather than worrying about camera mechanics or unexpected location issues. Thank you.